the National Rationalised Specifications Association of South Africa says it's in the final stages of revising the country's power blackout guidelines beyond stage 8. The NRS is a voluntary forum of organizations aimed at developing voluntary industry specifications to standardize equipment specifications across the country's electricity supply industry. Well, to break it down for us in simple English, I'm joined now by the chairman of the Management Committee of the NRS Association of South Africa and former executive manager at Eskom, Mr. Vali Padayachee. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. So, just in a simple...
Good afternoon, Dan. Good afternoon, Dan, and a very good afternoon to your viewers as well. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just in simple English, what do you guys do? Okay, before we speak about load shedding and the specific, what do you guys do?
Thank you very much for that question, Dan, and I think it's a very important question, especially I think the public is wondering what we do in a bit more detail. At a very high level, we are an organization, a very powerful organization, because its members comprise of all metros, Munich, Eskom Holdings, the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, and the South African Bureau of Standards in the main. And we essentially produce specifications which become standards that are utilized in the ESI and the EDI. And in the main, those standards and specifications contributes towards protecting the integrity of the national grid from collapse.
Okay. Thanks for that high-level picture. So in this case now, we are sitting with stage 6 load shedding almost every other day for longer hours than before. That will be guided by the specifications that exist, which I understand you had a hand in developing, and you call it Edition 2. Now you're busy revising. Is it because you're anticipating worst-case scenario beyond stage 8 already?
Yes, Dan, I think being professional and being a responsible organization, we do anticipate that. Given the status of the current grid. So we do anticipate that, and we cannot guarantee that we would not go beyond stage 6, let alone beyond stage 8. Now, let me just give you a quick background to that. We do this through one of our standards, which is called NRS 048 Part 9. And to date, we've got to Edition 2, and these are legally mandated standards in terms of the ERA through the NESA process. Now, very quickly, we went to Edition 1, which covered up to stage 4, because we did not anticipating going beyond stage 4. Then we, with the latter years, when the load shedding increased to stage 5, stage 6, and we went up to stage 8 in terms of Edition 2 in 2017. And now, as I indicated, being practical, pragmatic, and given the status of the grid, we do anticipate, given the winter period that's coming through now, and the status of the generation assets and the grid, that we cannot guarantee that we would not go beyond stage 6 and stage 8, and hence, we are coming up with Edition 3 to further protect the national grid at a very high level.
Okay, so your specifications that you are revising currently in managing the various stages of load shedding beyond stage 8, what do they say? How do they guide Eskom? And I presume you'd have to get the approval of the energy regulator, NERSA, for them to be effective. But give us a sense, what are these guidelines? What do they tell Eskom to do or not to do?
Well, at a very high level, firstly I must qualify, it's not a Eskom document or a Munich document or an industry document. It is an independent document utilized for utilities, because obviously utilities, meaning Munich and Eskom, do the load shedding. But what we do in essence, we do not take over the role of the national controller system operator. We, through our standards, supplement and complement what the system operator does, so that we assist them in protecting the grid. In other words, Dan, if you were to go beyond stage 8, which in an unlikely event is possible, with edition 2, then the national control or Eskom system operator would go into an emergency contingency regime. What we're doing with with edition 3, we are providing formalized, let's call it guidelines, that would assist national control and system operator in mitigating any proper propensity of making errors while going through, if they had to go through beyond stage 8, because national control is manned by humans, and humans we can make error.
Yeah, I've understood before, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Padayachee, that we need load shedding to avoid a total blackout or collapse of the grid. These guidelines beyond stage 8 that you are busy revising now would assist in that.
Exactly. In fact, I'm glad you raised that. And before I forget the point, we must not forget that load shedding is an excellent management tool used globally, I repeat, globally, to prevent the national grid from collapsing, meaning that to prevent the national grid from going into a blackout situation. I'm not making out that load shedding is a panacea for the solution. It comes with all its inconveniences, all its effects on the economy, but it's still an excellent tool, management tool, to prevent us from going into a blackout. We do not want to get into a blackout, Dan, because if we get into a blackout situation, there are serious, very serious consequences for the country. In fact, we don't know. It may take 2, 3, 4 weeks for the country to get back to normal from a power supply perspective. So I totally agree that load shedding, and we must prepare. I think we must prepare for advanced levels of load shedding in this winter, so that we soft land a potential blackout or the unlikely event of a blackout situation. And maybe I must just say, we are confident as an NRS that we will not get into a blackout situation, but as I say, we cannot guarantee that we will not get to advanced levels of load shedding, even beyond 8.
So you don't think there'll be a blackout, but you think we might go beyond stage 6 to up to stage 8. So far, from just what you've answered, how you've answered, if load shedding is such an excellent tool to avoid a total blackout, what is your view about how Eskom has been managing it so far? As an analyst, are they doing a good job?
They're doing a fantastic job. I think the national control system operator people, both at Eskom and the municipalities, don't forget the municipal utilities. There's a total of about 608 people that collectively manage the national grid, and then they're doing a fantastic job, albeit they're getting tired because they're working under difficult conditions, but they're doing a fantastic job. And South Africa is the only country in the world that hasn't gone into a total blackout to date, because our people in national control system operator and the Munich control rooms have been keeping the grid afloat. I call them the pilots of the power system, Dan. Just as the pilot keeps the plane afloat, our fantastic people in the control rooms, by doing a fantastic job, are keeping the national grid afloat. And we must give them kudos for that.
It must be a very stressful job, just like the air traffic controllers who are at OR Tambo, Lansilia, or King Shaka when they want to bring in the planes and get the planes to take off. It's a highly stressful job. We have to keep that in mind.
Dan. In fact, absolutely, Dan, because the national control people have to protect the grid by the second, not by the hour. So every second, they're going to manage supply and demand. And if they don't manage supply and demand effectively, we'll collapse.
We're in trouble every second. Thank you very much. I have to end it here, otherwise my producer, Veronica Pewa, is going to start shouting in my ear. Thank you very much, Mr. Padayachee, Vali Padayachee there from the NRS. He chairs the management committee there, just sharing with us the concerns about the future. They are planning ahead. They don't anticipate there'll be a total blackout of the national grid, but they are revising the standards, the specifications, the guidelines if we go beyond stage 6 to up to stage 8 during this winter. We've been warned, in fact, by the electricity minister, Hussein Soramakgopa, just last week that the next 150 days in our country through this winter are going to be some of the toughest when it comes to the supply of electricity by Eskom.